Ladies and gentlemen, how the hell are you? Welcome to another edition of Cleanpin. We're at episode 13, I believe this is of Cleanpin. And this is your wrestling news and rumors and talk, speculation. On this channel, I do talk about wrestling. I talk about baseball, hockey, basketball, football, various other sports. So really, I do make other wrestling videos, and you can check them out here on this channel as well. And this is a video cast, a podcast, if you will. Discussing the week's news and events that we missed, that we didn't have a chance to cover. So there are a couple of things to really go over, a lot to go over in a short amount of time frame here. Being that I really didn't have a chance to do a Royal Rumble, thoughts recap type of scenario, we want to go over some aspects of the Royal Rumble. Actually, you look at Brock Lesnar coming out number one for the Royal Rumble. A lot of fans were shitting on this, were crapping on this. I was really, of that stance where I said, listen, let's relax. Everyone thought that he would have just gone through the whole competition. And for a while there, it definitely looked like it was heading in that direction. It definitely did. But not the way it turned out. Instead, I will argue with you that what you've seen from Brock Lesnar and inside the actual Royal Rumble is why, honestly, this guy is given the type of money that he is, and he is in the position that he is. Kudos to him. He is a attraction. He is an attraction. Listen, I'll give you for an example. That reaction. People don't appreciate like the little things I think that Brock Lesnar does. The first criticism that people give about Brock Lesnar, is the type of contract that he has. Well, that's what he was given. People saying, he barely shows up. This is the contract that he has. Would you, as a worker, whatever field you do, would you volunteer your services, let's say for a Saturday or Sunday, or more hours after your allotted time slot without being paid? Of course not. So Brock Lesnar is working what he's being asked to do. But I digress. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is it's the little things with Brock Lesnar that you have to notice. Listen, Keith Lee, do any of you, and I think it could be proven. It could be. We could go if we say this. I think we're not really stretching the truth. A lot of people don't know who Keith Lee is. They don't, because I don't think a lot of people, the hardcore audience, the hardcore fans do, but there's certain people that only watch Raw and SmackDown. There are only those type of people that watch Raw and SmackDown. There's only so much wrestling that you can watch during the week, and sometimes in NXT, AEW, NWA is left out in the dark. So not a lot of people know who Keith Lee is. That facial expression on Brock Lesnar's face when Keith Lee came into the ring, he actually backed up a bit. When is the last time you have seen Brock Lesnar actually backtrack, do a few back steps? Never. And if you read his lips, you would have heard, who the hell is this guy? Like, who is this guy? As a compliment. Oh, look at this guy. That right there instantly gave credibility to Keith Lee on the main stage roster, on the main roster fans. Wow, okay. Now, let me pay attention to who Keith Lee is. Right? I mean, also look, that first part of that of that Royal Rumble. Listen, you may argue, poor Elias who got just demolished. Poor John Morrison who, his first Royal Rumble in a couple of years. Maybe the newer fans would have, when they seen John Morrison, they probably were like, "Oh, who's John Morrison? He's in the Royal Rumble." Oh, there he goes. Just as quickly as he appeared, he quickly disappeared. So those were some of the casualties. John Morrison, Elias, and it goes on because Brock Lesnar was dominating. If you're their fans, well, they were eliminated fairly quickly by Brock Lesnar. But that's perfect, because if you are a Drew McIntyre fan, Drew McIntyre was helped by Brock Lesnar to look like $1 million. The domination that Brock Lesnar did in the Royal Rumble earlier, plus with the facial expressions that Brock Lesnar did after being eliminated by Drew McIntyre, just gave Drew McIntyre instant credibility. Instant credibility. Did you hear that pop? Did you hear that pop, ladies and gentlemen, when Drew McIntyre threw Brock Lesnar over the top? Now listen, a part of it, I'm sure, was because Drew McIntyre did the elimination. But part of it as well was because fans were so sick of Brock Lesnar absolutely dominating that whole Royal Rumble. So kudos to Brock Lesnar. Kudos to Drew McIntyre as well. Sticking at the Royal Rumble, there was an altercation apparently between Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar. Matt Riddle, he was a former UFC fighter. Brock Lesnar, a former UFC fighter. Both accomplished in their own right. So, if you look at this, both, although one, in Brock Lesnar is intimidating, an absolute beast, someone that if you've seen on the street, you would probably be petrified. Though he is more intimidating. Don't take the laid-back Matt Riddle. Don't take him as some type of scrub jabroni, because he is a legit badass as well. So apparently there was an altercation, some verbal back and forth. And Riddle later on goes on to say that he wants to be the guy that retires Brock Lesnar. He doesn't care what anyone thinks, what anyone says. He wants to be the guy that retires, Brock Lesnar. Now, apparently, Matt Riddle, it's been circulating on the dirt sheets, that Matt Riddle maybe doesn't have the best of reputations or not really like that 100% in the locker room. Listen, the altercation, I personally, what I think is when you have, and this is, it all depends on ultimately, what Vince McMahon feels about this, what he thinks after he gets word of any scuttlebutt or any, little altercations in the back. But, and remember that Riddle had his altercation with Goldberg as well. In one way, I look at this with Matt Riddle, and you have to remember that any locker room, any sports locker room, I think it's whether it's hockey, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, baseball, no matter what sport, even a WWE or AEW, NWA locker room, this type of a athlete locker room, athletes are alpha males. They're alpha males, right? One wants the alpha male personalities. Majority of, athletes and their personalities, they want to be on top. They want to be number one. They think that they are the man. So a part of me hears this from Matt Riddle and says, okay. What's the big deal? What's the problem? See, there was no fisticuffs backstage. He wasn't being disruptive. He wasn't throwing stuff on the ground, throwing down water coolers. He was just saying that he feels that he is the man. And Brock Lesnar was saying that him and Riddle would never be working together anytime soon. No way that's ever happening, is apparently what they were saying. If you want to be successful, how do you think these people that own billion-dollar corporations, who are top of their game in their sport that they play, how do you think they got there? By working hard and never settling for anything, always trying to improve themselves, being one step ahead of the competition. Do you think the owner of, let's say, a McDonald's restaurant sits there, the main owner sits there and says, oh, okay, Wendy's, I see you're doing this new burger that's blowing out the Big Mac. I'll just sit back and do nothing. Or do you think he's constantly thinking about what's his next step? So to be able to, quote unquote, get to the next level, get that brass ring, I think you need to show a little chutzpah, a little, be a little salty, be respectful, and I think Riddle was. He wasn't saying anything about anyone's family, anything personal. He believes in himself. And what exactly is wrong with that? As long as you're being respectful to the surroundings around you. If you want something, I think, in life, you have to go and reach for the stars, as they say. Or else it will pass you by. Do you think that Matt Riddle just sits there in NXT and doesn't go to creative and pitch ideas? You think he just laid back and he just is complacent with what he's doing? I'm sure he's always going back there, trying to pick someone's ear and trying to be ready for the next step. What can we do after this? And that's what you have to do to get noticed. That's what you have to do to get noticed. That's how, management notices you. Listen, if you don't have confidence in yourself, why would management have confidence in you? Quiet confidence. Maybe be a little bit more humble to Matt Riddle. I don't think that really works. Because if you have a quiet confidence, does management really know you? Do they know? Do they feel? Do they know how you will take this next step? Do they know your personality? They just know that you're a good guy. Well, sometimes the saying where nice guys finish last, more often than not, is true. MVP, who made his debut at the Royal Rumble, has announced that, after appearing on Raw, that would be it for him in the WWE. That was his last WWE match. And, he thanks the WWE, the opportunity. He's not saying that he's, he knows that his career is, coming to an end sooner rather than later. Oh, but he still says that he has some left in the tank. And if this is the end for MVP in WWE, he went to New Japan. He was in TNA for a while. Was then supposedly supposed to be part of Lucha Underground. And it fell through, apparently. Got his start late in his career. But, his run in WWE, I like what he did with Jeff Hardy. Them two always being in constant competition. I like what he did there. I like the whole the whole presentation of MVP. But he's a little bit up there in age now. I think he did this possibly, for just so his son could see him wrestle in the WWE. And I think that's a cool thing. That is a very cool thing. His showing at the Royal Rumble was brief. He did get eliminated fairly quickly. But he had a decent match at Raw. He didn't disappoint him. Didn't embarrass himself. So you congratulate MVP on his career at WWE. Been some time that since he disappeared, he's been working on the indies mostly. I would have liked to see him come back to the WWE sooner than when he did. But he has been working on the indies, so congratulate MVP. I did like that gimmick. Again, love that presentation. So, congratulations to MVP. Just going back to the Royal Rumble, you've seen the re-debut of after 9 years of Edge, right? Supposedly he has a 3-year deal, $3 million a pop. Supposedly wrestling about 3 to 5 matches a year, but 3 matches a year. But he seems that he's gonna. I guess what he indicated is that he's gonna try to work closer to 5 matches a year, and in between that he has about 25 appearances that he would make throughout the course of the 25 appearances, to kind of promote the matches and the angles. I was surprised that Edge came back, right? I kind of said it like I really, after 9 years, he's now 46, 47. But again, it does open a whole new slew of opportunities as far as matches goes. Dream matches, AJ Styles, Aleister Black. These type of guys, right? So that's something that now you have the opportunity. Daniel Bryan, something that you have the opportunity to see, to look at. And I get, after he said on Monday Night Raw that he wants to go out on his own terms. I get that. I understand that. But, I mean, I'm not a doctor. Again, and Steve Austin has kind of said the same thing. With an injury like that, I know it's been 9 years, but a neck injury, the severity of that type of injury, you just you hope that he does everything very carefully. Try to be as careful as possible. And I know, listen, you might say that's not a way to live life. I get that aspect too, that you never know what's around the corner. But for a guy that's, accomplished so much, what else more is there really to do? And I get it, and I can't relate because he wants to go out on his own terms. I get that. And listen, when you look at him, the guy is kind of probably in a better shape now than when he was in his prime, right? So that's one thing. So, and you maybe kind of might even argue that maybe we should have seen it coming when he conveniently, out of the blue, kind of just canceled his podcast in January there. Maybe that's when he's been really just working out full steam ahead. That 1 year, I think it was January that he canceled. Well, no, I think it was before January he canceled it. No, after January. But, when he canceled that podcast, that kind of should have been the old, the old indication that he might be coming back. But, again, I can't relate because I'm not an athlete like he is. I just hope, I hope Edge is really careful, and you wish him all the best, definitely. I liked, and this is a guy like this, by the way, you cannot argue, a guy like Edge working with a guy like Orton, probably as safe as you could be, right? Orton is extremely safe, methodical, evil Randy Orton, legend killer Randy Orton is the best type of Randy Orton, and that is what you've seen this past week at the closing of Monday Night Raw. Probably one of the better closings of Monday Night Raw in quite some time. When you have a guy back like Edge, he's back, in the locker room. Imagine what he could teach this newer, younger talent that might need some help. Did you see the way that Edge was selling? Did you see the way he was selling? Did you catch his hand twitch? He was selling and selling and selling. The little things, his hand twitching, little things like that is why, whether I think it's the right thing for Edge to come back or not, things like that are invaluable. It's the little things, and he will be able to bestow that on the locker room when he is there. That was a beautiful segment. And it was nicely done, and now it's gonna allow Edge to disappear for a while and then come back closer to Mania, and a couple of weeks before then, and really kind of push this storyline. I think if they do this right, and I think they will, just the way you seen that last segment, this could really be one of the hotter stories going into WrestleMania, which I think that's where we're going with. It's going to lead to a WrestleMania match. Sammy Guevara made some news because it was, Royal Rumble was in Houston. Sammy Guevara of AEW. They were outside of Houston. Sammy Guevara, rented a little army tank there, something that you could get, at Kmart, Walmart for like $400, $500. It's almost similar to like a Power Wheel type of thing. It's not one of those things on a battery. He didn't rent an actual, like a gazillion, like a tank that you would see, in the army, in the military, in their, in their yards. It was like a toy army truck. And, he was spoofing, very similar to that DX invasion outside of the arena. And he vlogged it, I believe, and, he's, it was, listen, it was innocent. It wasn't really malice, I guess. If that's the way he wanted to spend his time out there in a toy army tank in which, a 5-year-old would sit in, you have to look at it. It's all over the internet, and I get it. I guess it's funny. It's the DX thing. The only, it's innocent. It wasn't really hurting anyone. The only thing I would say, if you're going to do that, He wasn't even wearing any like AEW merch, any AEW T-shirt, anything. At least if you're gonna go through all that effort to be out there, in the heat, in the Houston heat, why aren't you? And this is, your invasion. Why aren't you wearing the T-shirt of the company that you represent? Come on now, that's silly. He didn't have anything that was like had AEW on it, and I'm 95% positive on this. I didn't see anything otherwise. What was the whole point of that? I mean, I don't think a lot of people were out there and be like, "Oh, it's Sammy Guevara." I mean, wearing an AEW shirt would have helped. No. Speaking of which, just as we're sticking on the theme of Royal Rumble here, Dolph Ziggler, and as we jump back, just speaking of that Monday Night Raw with that segment between Randy Orton, that last segment in Edge was done this past Monday. I believe the figures, if I remember correctly, came out to about 2.4. Now, this is a segment that WWE was hyping. The Edge will return. I believe they were hyping it on social media. It was pretty prominent. You knew earlier in the day that Edge would be returning on Monday Night Raw. The ratings, 2.4. Some were saying that they expected more because Edge returned. See, and I really don't like to dwell on the ratings too much, but we're in a state right now that I think the problem is you could have all these promotions. You could have AEW, you could have WWE, you have NWA, you have MLW, ROH. Fact of the matter is people are attracted to personalities. Why should people be watching? You have your wrestlers that were larger than life. And Hulk Hogan, Rock, Austin, Savage, Ultimate Warrior. It just, you're at a point where the ratings have been where they have been for so long for a reason. Because I think what we're able to kind of ascertain here is that a lot of the fans have gone and they're really not coming back. As much as AEW says that they're going to bring back all the fans, they're really not coming back. If you do the numbers between, if you take the numbers between NXT and AEW, you add them together, that pretty much comes out to the Raw audience. The only difference now is just some of them that watch Raw are now watching AEW instead of NXT that night. I mean, there is, to get these fans back and to really pop a rating with a return, you need larger than life. You need a reason why people would want to tune in. I think at this point, some of these people say, Rock is on, Austin is on, all right, but this NBA game is on. Am I really gonna change the channel for 5 minutes just to watch The Rock? I'll watch it on replay. I'll watch it on YouTube, on WWE's YouTube page. I just think that we're so far gone that past that point that a lot of WWE, a lot of wrestling fans need something, to really sink their teeth in, to be fully vested and to, to watch again. That's why I don't think the ratings really, they will always be the same. Kind of where you are right now, in the 9s and the 7s and the 8s and the 7s for the Wednesday night ratings for AEW, NXT. That's where it's all going to be for the most part. It's going to change here and there, but I mean, you're not gaining any new audiences. You need larger than life products. You need consistency. And there's so much other things to watch now. You really need something huge to happen in wrestling where people would care. And unfortunately, AEW is not that. An Edge return is not that. That's why it's even more important, for a lot of these wrestling companies to kind of work together, and commingle to try to survive. That's why I think, that's why I think what NWA and ROH are doing right now is a good thing. It's a good thing. Because you need that commingling and I'll rub your back, you rub my back type of scenario. Dolph Ziggler was mad at the camera guy on Royal Rumble for completely messing up that first spear that Edge did on Dolph Ziggler when he made his return to the Royal Rumble. How can you miss that? And I agree, he wasn't like being a dick about it, but he's like, come on, guy, how can you miss that? Exactly. How can you miss that? You have to be in range. That's a kind of a moment that you want to see, that anticipation after all these years of being outside of a ring. Here he is. And you miss it. You miss that damn spot. But, beauty of the internet, it was captured. That's it for now, guys. And the red light, with Bray Wyatt. You didn't see it in the Daniel Bryan match. Don't be too certain that red light will be gone from the Bray Wyatt matches, or the Fiend matches rather. I think what is happening, why there was no lighting, that red light, it was a strap match, and they wanted to just highlight the marks on Daniel Bryan's back. To be determined, I guess. I hope all is well. Look forward to speaking to you guys very, very soon. Please like and share. Thumbs up. Cleanpin.